What's up, everyone? I'm CL Connolly. And first, yes, I cut my own hair one day. It's because she keeps grabbing my hair and I feel like I'm gonna get whiplash from her grabbing onto my hair. And with it being shorter, it's less that she grabs my hair, I will say that. But I've been talking about shaving my head. My husband's like, no, you're not. I'm like, okay, fine. So one day right before a shower, actually like a few days ago, right before a shower, I just stuck my hair in little pigtails like this and I just cut it off. And yes, I am aware that it is very uneven and that it is probably going to need to be fixed, but at this point I don't care. I never leave my house. I have my little one and that's what I do. She stayed with my husband while I was at the event on Saturday, so there's that. And she's been completely attached to me. So since I got home, so there you go. But anyway, yes, my hair is very uneven. We're just gonna ignore it and go from there. Anyway, so sorry, she's so cute, she's distracting. But anyway, so what I wanted to talk about today is just being a basic, decent human being. Okay, so there are certain things that I do that I don't think anything of it, right? And then later, and I'll do, for like other people. And then later they'll come up to me like, oh my God, you've been so helpful. I really appreciate you. And I'm like, what did I do? Like, I didn't see that what I did was that big of a deal, right? Like, you needed help, I helped you out. And I didn't think that it was that big a deal, but apparently it was a huge deal. And I was like, ah, okay. Like, I just thought it was basic human decency, right? I guess sometimes for people it's a big deal when people are actually decent human beings, right? So there is this other girl that I met through all these events and stuff that I was doing years ago. And she ended up with a medical condition where she could barely ever leave her house and things like that. Well, her air conditioner went out in her house. She called an air conditioning guy to come out there. And because she's a woman, you know how some guys are where it's like, I'm going to mansplain this shit to you and pretend like you're dumb. Well, she didn't appreciate it at all. So she posted on Facebook about it. And I was like, okay, you know what? First of all, my husband works for Air Conditioning Supply. So he knows a bunch of contractors who can come out to your house that are going to treat you like a normal human and not, well, you're a woman, so you don't understand. So I asked my husband for several names and I said, I want some guys who are not going to treat her like she's an idiot. So he gives me a list. I immediately transfer it to her and she was able to find someone on that list that actually did a really good job and did not treat her like she was dumb, which is great. And a couple of those guys I actually know, not really personally, but I've met them before, right? And I guess that was like a huge deal. Like I had the information, so why not, right? And I guess it was a huge deal. And she actually was really happy that I was able to give her that information. There's a few other things that, we've gone back and forth about, that we've talked about and things like that. But I don't know. I try to be uplifting and motivational to people because sometimes, when you hear certain things, it's like, ugh, great. So now I'm just sitting here waiting to die. When in other terms, you can actually sit there and think to yourself, well, you know what? How can I make my life better right now for whatever time that I have left here? It doesn't matter that, I have a terminal illness or whatever. It's like, what can I do to make my life better here? So I try to make, I guess I want to say that I think everybody should just live positively. Like, okay, so you've been diagnosed with a terminal illness. You don't know how much time you have because the illness can progress or regress in any way that it decides to, as long as you, watch your doctors, blood work, blah, 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 whatever, right? So as long as you pay attention to all of that, you could prolong your life, right? There's other things where if you don't pay attention to that, it could shorten your lifespan. But either way, how about you just live life positively and see things happy and in, Because if you're looking at everything in the negative, then all you're going to do is whatever time you have left is just going to be bland and hard and just absolutely miserable. And why would anybody want to live their life miserable? So I guess there's certain things that I do where I feel like I'm just being a decent human, and I don't think that it's that big of a deal. But to other people, it seems like every time I see them in person again afterwards, after we've had correspondence through Messenger or, texting or anything like that, when I see them in person, they're like, oh my God, you were so helpful. I really appreciate everything you've done for me. And I'm all like, oh, okay. What did I do? Like, I have no idea what I did that was so grand, but I guess just being a decent human being is an awesome thing for some people. And I actually appreciate that. I don't know. That's just how I feel. I'm sorry, you cannot have that. I'm so sorry, you cannot have that. She keeps trying to stick her tongue down inside. That's the only reason why it's always in my hand generally, is because at least that way I can toss it back and forth and keep her away from it. But then she gets upset with me because I won't let her have it. Anyway, so be a decent human being. Be that person that someone else actually looks to for answers, and not someone who goes, oh God, if I have to talk to that person again, I swear to God, I'm going to punch him in the face. I know that I have that feeling. There's a few people that I know of that I think to myself, God, if I ever have to talk to that person again, I'm probably just going to punch him in the face. But luckily, I think to myself, since I never leave my house, I don't have to worry about that. And I can smile and say, I live a great life. You are really pulling on my old lady neck skin. It's only because I have really pliable skin on my neck. I always call it my old lady neck skin. Anyway, I also call my back my old lady, because if my back hurts, I'm always like, ugh, my old lady's acting up again. It's usually my back and my hip. There's my old lady. But I have back issues and hip issues, and anyway. So, I don't know. In 2017, I have been running since I was 8. Okay, since I was 8 years old. And in 2017, I'm going to basically tell out my age. In 2017, I was 37 years old, and I had severe back pain. So I go to the doctor and I'm like, I can't even stand up straight. My back hurts so bad. Come to find out, so the scoliosis that my dad has actually been passed on, but I also have spinal stenosis. My hips are misaligned, and I have something called spina bifida occulta, which basically just means that my tailbone isn't like this, like normal. It actually just didn't like fuse together like it's supposed to. So essentially, if it had continued and it like shifted, I'd have spina bifida. I guess that's what the doctor had said, something like that. I would have been born with spina bifida. But technically, it's just the fact that it didn't fuse together. So it's kind of open. So because of that, my hips are misaligned, and every so often my pelvis can actually shift into the wrong position to where one hip actually turns and causes severe pain in my hip and all kinds of other stuff. So a lot of the times, that's why I have so many, like, I don't know if you can see, there's 3 pillows behind me to help with my back. My spine actually goes into my back and off to the side just a little bit. So it's not in the way it's supposed to in my lower back. And then in my upper back is where you can actually see it poke out of my body. So you can actually see my spine in my upper back where it curves outward. And in the lower back, it curves inward and to the right. It's a whole thing, right? So when my doctor had asked me, she's like, I cannot believe you haven't come see me for this before. And I'm like, well, I grew up with my dad, who was a Marine. He's a retired Marine. So his philosophy on everything is no pain, no gain, right? Well, here's the deal. In 2017, after all these x-rays, MRIs, and all that other stuff, physical therapy, everything like that, I was told I could never run again. I can't run on pavement. surface. I shouldn't run at all because of the pressure it puts on your spine. So I was upset about that, right? Because I had been running for almost 30 years. And yeah, I was very upset that I could no longer run. I can walk. And as long as that is where I get my positivity, okay? As long as I can walk, I'm gonna do it. Yes, it hurts sometimes to stand in an upright position for too long. I cannot stand in a single position. So my husband thinks it's funny whenever we go to like the hardware store or something like that, which I haven't been in forever because, you know, I'm home. But whenever we used to go to the hardware store and he's sitting there and he's looking at something, and my husband can be very indecisive. It took 3 years to decide on the house, but my husband can be very indecisive, and I'd walk up and down the aisles because the movement actually helps a little bit with the pain. Plus, not only that, but making my hips move just a little bit helps with the pain in the one side. And sometimes when I stand, I lean to one side. So I got one hip that pokes out on this side or one hip that pokes out on this side. And it doesn't help with the pain either. But my thing is that as long as I'm walking, I'm fine. My dad had surgery. So he has a metal rod that sticks in his back right now that holds him straight up. So his lower back is just a metal rod that holds him in place. So he doesn't, his back doesn't like bend the way that it should, I guess. So anyway, they told me that I was too young for surgery. So I would have to deal with it until I get to my 50s or 60s, and then they'll look at it again and see if I might need surgery. Oh, I'm so sorry. So let me live my young years in severe pain. Cool, great. I'm so happy with that. So in my essence, you know, in the way that I am, it's like, okay, positivity time. I know that I've been told that eventually I could end up in a wheelchair due to severe back pain and things like that. And at some point, the numbness that I get in my legs could potentially just cut off all circulation and stuff to my legs too. So I will end up in a wheelchair. I'm like, that's cool, great. But as long as I can walk and as long as I can move, I will still get up, I will still walk, and I will still go because I can. I'm not gonna sit around and go, well, I'm not gonna do anything, I'm just gonna sit here. That's not gonna happen. Why? Why just sit here and be miserable? I still have 2 legs that do work. So I do get up and I go for a walk and stuff like that. Sometimes I'll take her for a walk down the dirt roads and stuff, but because we live where it's very foresty, I guess you could say, on the roads, like when you go down these roads, it's more like, oh my God, where are we going? If you've never been out here before. And it's really funny because when people first come out here, they're all like, I was terrified when I started coming down that road. And I was like, I know, isn't it fun? So when we get to where there's a lot of trees and she's holding on to me, I can always tell when she starts to freak out just a little bit and get uncomfortable. She starts to grab on just a little tighter, and that's when we turn around and come back. So we haven't been able to go far because she gets uncomfortable and I don't want to make her uncomfortable in any way. So then we come back. But I do go for walks with her. Haven't been able to go far, but I do go for walks with her. Like from my house to the actual main paved road is approximately, I want to say like 3 miles. So we do live way far back into the middle of nowhere. So there's that. But the thing is though, is the fact that I can still walk. I can still do things. I have no, and I used to do that all the time. I'm like, hey, I've been sitting down for a long period of time. I'd call my mom up at some point because I'd been working so hard on my books and stuff. And I'd call my mom up and I'm like, hey, I need to walk around. I've been sitting for too long. I need to start moving. And that's mostly so that I can actually get the circulation going in my legs just a little bit more. I walk over and I see where my kitty cat is buried. Miss Valentine's out there. So we'll go and we'll walk over there and stuff like that. So, and she's okay with that. She's okay if we walk over that way because she's still on the property. It's when we get off the property that sometimes she starts getting uncomfortable, which is fine. So anyway, but that's my thing. I still have 2 legs. I can still walk. I'm not going to sit around and go, oh, woe is me. I'm never moving from this spot again. I do find that the most awkward questions I've ever been asked from several different medical professionals is, have I ever lost control of my bladder or my bowels? And I'm like, no, I have never pissed or shit my pants, but thanks for asking. Like, apparently it comes with these spine issues that eventually my spine will cause me to just randomly. And I'm like, well, since I don't have that going for me, let's keep going. Right? I don't know. It is the most awkward thing. I know that sometimes medical professionals ask questions because specifically they have to. They have to ask those questions because then it turns into a bigger issue. But either way, of course, during that MRI and x-rays and stuff like that, they did find that I also had 3 herniated discs in my lower back, which is very awful because they were one right after the other. So anyway, I have to do several exercises throughout the day. I have a yoga mat in my office that I roll out onto the floor, and I have to do these exercises, especially if I'm in extreme pain. And you cannot have that. But other than that, I have legs. I can walk. I can still move. I'm going to do it as long as I can. Do I run? Not like I used to. Like, I run if I have to. Like, if I want to get somewhere quick, I will run. If someone was chasing me, I'd probably be running. But either way, I don't run like for fun like I used to, which is a little depressing because I liked running because it actually helped me not want to punch people in the face. But it's one thing that I had to sacrifice in order to maintain an upright position and be able to continue to walk. So, okay, no problem. I can sacrifice running if I want to continue to walk for longer than, what they had predicted. They gave me between 10 and 15 years. Which sucks, but that's fine, whatever. Anyway. Sorry. Anyway, I've had other, medical issues that have popped up here and there. There's this, there's that, blah, blah, blah. There's certain things I don't want to, say on the internet, but that's just for my privacy and everything else. But, why be miserable? Why sit around and be like, well, I'm just going to wait for death. And then you're bored all your life and there's nothing to do because all you're doing is you're sitting around and you're being miserable. Why not make that time more fun? Why not make that time helpful for other people when you have that? Hey, can you get off that table, please? My coffee's up there. Thank you. I forgot what I was saying. But I'm just saying, if you know that someone, like if you've been diagnosed with something, anything, and you find out that someone else has been diagnosed with something, and they're going, oh my God, I'm so scared. What do I do? It's like, well, I've been dealing with this for so many years. So I'm going to help you out and kind of give you some advice and stuff like that, especially when you get in those groups on Facebook. Sometimes those groups and stuff like that, it'll get to the point to where, don't mess with the switches. And you turn off the outside light. Come here. But you get to the point to where you kind of understand a little bit more. And if you've ever been in some of these medical groups on Facebook, you know that you get those rude people that are just like, ask your doctor, ask your doctor. Okay. Most likely they ask their doctor and now they want someone who's actually experiencing it because the doctor themselves has not experienced it, or not that you know of, at least, right? The doctor's just giving you a list of shit that they've been told from medical school. Here, this is what you can and cannot eat. There you go. That's it. The end. But they don't actually give you the right kind of information that basically tells you how to deal with your feelings and emotions and what's actually going on with you. So when you go to these groups and some of these people are like, well, you need to ask your doctor that question. Bitch, I'm asking people who are actually going through it. So I like to be a little bit more helpful and go, hey, by the way, when I was told this, yeah, at first I was like, ugh, this sucks. But then I was like, you know what? Let me watch my labs, watch what I eat, this and that, blah, blah, blah. So I go back and forth with that. And for the first 2 years, I felt like a friggin' pincushion because I was getting my blood drawn every 3 months. But eventually, once they realize, hey, look, we're able to, correct the progression or whatever it is. And then it's like, okay, so now it's every 6 months. Problem is, though, is that it's every 6 months for 2 different doctors. So there's that. And I'm getting blood drawn all the time. But either way, it's helpful. And not only that, but when you see so many comments where people are all like, well, what do your labs say? What does this say? What does that say? What'd your doctor say? Shut up. And then you get one comment that I like to do and be like, hey, this is what I did. I understand that feeling. Sometimes you just kind of have, and then they're like, thank you so much. And then they turn off the comments because they're done with all those rude people that just want to go, ask your fucking doctor. Well, why don't you be a fucking, decent human being and stop feeling so miserable and answer the question that they're asking, because they're needing the answer from someone who knows what's going on with their body. And that's the biggest issue. She just heard the washer timer go off, so she knows it's time to get up. Huh. You know it's time to get up, don't you? Yep. Anyway, the whole point is be a decent human being. Most people are just looking for, when they ask questions, they're not looking for, a mansplaining type of, person. Because I'm going to tell you right now, that's fucking irritating as shit. And they're not looking for well, what did this person say? Bitch, I know what that person said. I know exactly what that person said, but that person is not experiencing what I'm going through. I'm asking other people who are experiencing what I'm going through, and I'm looking for some advice from the people who have actually gone through this. So that's the whole point. Just be a decent human being. Be a decent human being, and people will actually appreciate it more. And it'll make you smile to know that you actually made someone's day by something so insignificant that you just thought you were being helpful. And it turns out it was a huge deal to this other person. Rather than sitting around and gossiping about someone else, behind their back and stuff like that, it's like, why not find someone that you can actually help? Why not? It would make life so much better. You wouldn't get all these people all the time who are out there driving on the road going, hey, fucker, get off your stupid phone and care about the rest of the people around you before you kill someone. Because they're selfish and they're an asshole. But either way, be a decent human being and smile. Live life like every day is your last and you don't want to die miserable. That's just how I see it, right? Either way, like, comment, share, subscribe, or don't. I don't give a shit. Do whatever the fuck you want. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I just post new videos every Monday and Thursday. I do what I can to get them out to you. Sometimes the week gets away from me. But either way, whatever. Okay, that's all I got. Okay, bye.